Hello, everybody. I am Jeremias, and I'm here with my best bud, Tonka. And we are really excited to welcome you to Pets, People, Life, and Longevity, which is our conversation about life with a pet and all that that means. I'm super excited to have our guest today, who has become a friend, Rochelle, and I think I shared and resonated with her on so many levels. We have similar backgrounds of science. We've had shared health issues, so that was kind of a commonality. And I love what she does and thinks it's so interesting. So I'd really like to pass it on to her and have her tell us a little bit about herself, and then we'll just see where this conversation goes.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Jan, for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I love what you do. I think it's so cool. So a little bit about my background. I grew up in San Diego, California. And after high school, I was always drawn to the medical field. And in high school, I was a student trainer. In college, I was a student trainer. And then I became an EMT. And then I went to medic school and became a paramedic. And I was a paramedic in San Diego for about 6 years. And then the contract negotiations were coming up for the paramedic contract, and many of us weren't going to get taken over. So a lot of us went back to school. I took a forensics course. I got hooked, and I completely switched careers, went into forensics, and had a career in forensics for almost 20 years. So for 20 years, I was analyzing evidence, testifying in court. I did a lot of research. I was teaching all over the country the findings of my research, and it was really a lot of fun. But in 2017, I decided, well, actually it wasn't me, it was my intuition. My intuition was telling me that it was time to do something else. And I decided to quit my job cold turkey and become an entrepreneur. And that was my journey to begin to find my passions, my why. What was I here to do in this lifetime? And, a catalyst to me really making that decision too was in 2008, I was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor, and that started my personal development journey. So that's when I was opened up to this whole new world that I didn't even know existed, with meditation, visualizations, and anything you would have told me to do to get rid of that brain tumor, I would have done. So I looked into anything and everything, holistic diets, and so nourishing that and strengthening that inner voice of mine through meditation really over time is what told me in 2017 that it was time for me to do something else. So I didn't know what it was, but I trusted it, and I felt it within my entire body, and I knew it was the right thing to do. And that started my journey as an entrepreneur. So it's been a crazy journey, but I've enjoyed every bit of it, and I'm excited with what I'm doing now.
I love that. And I think those decisions sometimes are so much like, it's like we feel we have to do it. We don't even feel like we can explain it, even if we wanted to. If people asked, it's kind of like, I can't explain to you why, but I just need to do this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I was 46 years old or 47 years old. And a lot of people thought, you're having your midlife crisis. Like Rochelle's having her she's just going through that phase. And how could you quit your job? But I knew it was my midlife awakening. I knew I was being awakened to something else and another calling.
So part of the reason I had you on is because I just love your advocacy through music. And basically because I think if you're in the animal world, you're somehow immersed in that sort of whole advocacy program through pet adoption and pet, anything pet oriented, because there are probably, thousands and thousands of rescue groups and different humane societies and different organizations that, service animals and whatnot. And so I loved this whole idea of advocating through a song. And so maybe you can share a little bit about how that came about and what it is.
Yeah, so music has always been a part of my life. I grew up singing in the church. I grew up in, it was always a part of me. I was a cherub in the choir. In high school, I was in the vocal ensemble group. And then after high school, I took guitar lessons and, just music. I loved music. And I would have probably pursued something in music, but back then I guess was maybe more conditioned to just get a regular job, something stable with retirement benefits, blah, blah, blah. And if I were to tell my parents that I wanted to do something with music, they probably would have thought I was crazy. So music has always been a part of me, and so is advocating. So as a paramedic, I was advocating for health, the health of patients. And, there are 911 emergencies. And when I was in forensics, I was advocating, I was a piece of puzzle of a crime scene, advocating for the truth. I didn't make that decision. I would present my findings to a jury and the jury would make that decision. So, and then when I was diagnosed with my own brain tumor in 2008, I really had to advocate for myself because my insurance company denied the treatment that I wanted. So I had to, put my case together, appeal it, and I ended up winning and getting the treatment I needed. So those two things have always embodied me. And I never really realized how much of an advocate I'd been with throughout my jobs. And I love advocating for others. I've had friends, family diagnosed with certain conditions who I've gone with them to their doctor's appointments. And I think because I have that unique background and perspective of a paramedic, I had to go head to head with doctors at times when I was a paramedic and stand my ground. And I'm not intimidated by doctors. And, I think there's this a lot of people are afraid to ask questions, to doctors and really question things and ask for things. When I was diagnosed with my brain tumor, my doctor wanted me to do physical therapy, but I knew in my entire body that something was wrong. And I asked for an MRI and I wouldn't leave his office till he said he would do it. And he finally decided, I talked him into it, I guess. And I had my MRI and that's when they found my brain tumor. So there's something, I love those two parts. I'm very passionate about both of them. And in 2016, my sister, Juanita, my older sister, was diagnosed with colon cancer. And she had stage 4 colon cancer. It was caught in the later stages. She battled it for 2.5 years and she passed away. And I was devastated after she died. She was one of my best friends. If you've ever watched anybody go through cancer and just slowly, progressively get worse, it's one of the worst things to watch. And so I didn't know what to do with my grief other than just write. And I channeled all that grief and loss and heartache I was feeling into writing, and it turned into a song. And I ended up writing a song that was my interpretation of her cancer journey. And my guitar instructor, Mark, and we put music together. We sang it at our celebration of life. And then we published it in the hopes of raising some money for a colon cancer group in San Diego and honor my sister. But then it was during the pandemic that I was sitting here at my desk and I was trying to think of ways to carry on my sister's legacy. She was an advocate for colon cancer when she was alive, sharing with others the importance of getting screened. And I decided to create a lyric video out of that song that I wrote for her and use that to create messaging around colon cancer awareness. And so I'm just, doing things that's helping me with my grief, my loss. It's continuing her legacy in some way. Let's make an, positive impact out of this horrible thing that happened by helping others learn more about colon cancer and get screened. And I just started outreaching to all colon cancer groups, as many as I could find. And what I was really surprised and shocked as to the response that I got from it. So I sent a cold email pitch, just said, share this. This is my sister's story. Can you please share it so that we can create awareness together? And people responded to me that they were in tears. They were moved by the lyric video, by the song. One group wanted me to become an ambassador for them. One group wanted me to become a spokesperson. Another group wanted me to, Mark and I, to play her song at their virtual fundraiser that they have every year, concert. And so because of the response that I got, I was like, well, if this did this to me, what could it do for others? And that's when I took my idea to the TEDx stage last year, and I did my TEDx talk on the power of advocating through music. So right now I'm helping clients who have a message to share, something they're advocating for, and advocacy comes in all different forms. It's not just health. It could be social issues. It could be, one girl I'm writing a song about, she's creating a nonprofit around brave girls. And so the song is about the little girl that's being brave and really stepping into who she is and always has been, around the, maybe her upbringing and the shame and what she felt growing up. And so it's been really a lot of fun. And it's, tragically, it came from something that was, huge loss for me and my family and many people that knew my sister, but I feel like she's with me every step of the way. And, together we're creating human impact in a positive way.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And it is such a beautiful thing when you can take something that was so tragic and create something so beautiful from it. Not that it decreases what happened, but just makes you feel that that something good came from it, at least.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy, and I'm sure she would be, I believe she's looking over you or looking over, and I'm sure she would be totally ecstatic with helping from up, what I mean is that that's what happened from her, from her ailment and situation. I love the idea of processing through writing. I think that, one of the things I talk a lot about with people is, that the leash goes both ways, that what happens to us happens to our animals and vice versa. And I think as humans, we forget how much of what we go through in life affects all those around us, whether that be our pets, our families, our children. And I love the idea that you were able to channel that into, even if you never share it and never write a song, from it.
Yeah. Well, I do like a 3-page mind dump every morning. And it's really been that exercise and doing that every day has been so amazing. I've read it in books. A lot of people said, actually, it was a music book I read, and she talked about for creativity, like it's just writing. You just get used to writing every day. And I do a 3-page, I've heard it called different things, a brain dump, mind dump, or whatever. But that writing has, really done, I think it helps in so many ways. It just helps us to get any thoughts out that are in our head stuck. And it just kind of like, there's something about pen to paper where some magic can be created there too.
Yeah. I always tell people to do it. I used to recommend people do it at the end of the day, especially if they couldn't sleep, to just like write and journal and literally mind dump to see if you get it out onto the paper, whether that helps you fall asleep. Because I think that, if you have all these thoughts in your head a lot of the time, that's why we stay up at night. Where like our mind is going and going. And if you can brain dump it all, then hopefully you have a little bit of peace so that you can go to sleep afterwards, so. And so I love the idea of processing so that we can move through our emotions, so that we can, have a better relationship, at least with ourselves, if not anything. And then obviously, if we feel better, everybody around us feels better. I'm sure someone could reach out to you if they had a pet related story they wanted to share, or an organization around pets that they could advocate, and you could help them.
Yeah. I mean, I love organizations, foundations, nonprofits, charities that are advocating for something. And The response I got from the colon cancer groups that I reached out to just showed me that it's not only a great way for people to connect to your cause and your why, but it's a great marketing tool to use to put on your website, or to, when you do send out emails, to have people understand like what it is that you're doing. And there's something with music that just really connects us. And we've seen this, there's studies on it, how music, affects our mind, our moods. It creates unity, when we're at concerts, and, everything goes out the door when we're around music. In concerts, we don't think about other people's personal beliefs or, religious beliefs, political, whatever. Like, we're just there for music. We love it. We're there in unity. And, music is, I know there's probably stuff out there that shares how music affects pets too.
Yes, absolutely. And just the idea to me of music being so catchy, like we always hum, or all of a sudden you'll find yourself singing a song, and what better way than to, have whatever you're advocating for. Wouldn't you like to think that people are actually humming your what you're advocating for, or just at least thinking about the music that it was, that was created for it, and people are out there in the world just kind of humming, and you're getting out your message, in such a beautiful way, as opposed to, so much of marketing and that kind of thing can seem so, I don't know, with such an agenda. And to me, music is kind of just beautiful, and it uplifts the soul. So
no, that's such a good point that you bring up, because when I wrote my sister's song, I've had people, download it and tell me, oh, your sister's song stuck in my head. And I'm thinking that is exactly what I want, because when they think of my sister, they have that song stuck in their head. And when it's time for them to get a colonoscopy, they're going to remember her and her story and not skip it, and do it, and realize the importance of it. So, that's the end goal. I told myself, if I just do this and it saves one person's life, then I've done my job. So, that's what it was meant to do, is to create impact in a positive way for prevention awareness, whatever it might be. So, I'm excited to do this for others, because I really think that it's going to connect others to your cause and your mission. And, that could end up in collaborations with sponsorships, maybe, or people who want to just, do more with what you are doing. But also too, it could be personal. It could be the story of your pet. It could be the story of, pets are our family, right? They're an extension of our family and part of it. And there's many pets that I had growing up that I, were lifesavers to me at times. I'm grateful that they were there, and they all carry a story, a piece of my story. I
always love how, talk to people and my own pets. And I feel like, my last dog lived to 19. So I had her for basically 18 years. And how much of our life, like how much she went through with me, like all the different things that happened to me, but she was there, and it's like such a chronological remembrance of your life, when all of a sudden you think to yourself, oh my gosh, they were there for that, and they were there for that. And they're so loyal, and they always are, they're always there for you all during all those things. And, and being a support and savior for us. And so that's part of the gift and joy of having an animal, is that they are there. I think I love the idea also of just finding your why. And I feel like that's such a valuable part of almost the whole advocacy thing too, of even through music, because if you have a question about what your purpose is, you found your purpose, and it's beautiful. And I also found mine, but getting to that part of your path where you sit there and you say, I've got to do something that's really me. And just being able to even do it through a song, or through writing, or telling a story.
Yep. Yeah. I think the more, for example, I have a lot of clients who get on podcasts, and just talking and sharing your story, over time, you begin to develop what your message is, and you begin to see, like, what are the things I really enjoy talking about? What are the things I don't really, I don't like talking about as much, but like, I'm really drawn to this. And you kind of, through processes like that, journaling, meditating, whatever, you'll find it. And really mine came through, again, it was through my sister's journey. I wouldn't be doing this had she not had hers, but I do believe wholeheartedly that I would have come back to music in some way, because my instructor he kept pushing me to write songs in the probably about 6-7 years ago. He started, and I told him, I'm like, I don't know how to write songs. I just want to play my guitar. And, and I thought he was crazy, and he kept asking me, and I finally did. And a song came out, and now we write songs together. And, he saw something in me I didn't see. And I think I would have come back to music, but advocating through music would not have been like something I would have ever thought about had my sister not had her journey. So, I've titled the program Lyrical Revival, because lyrics can come in many forms. It can be in a book, poem. It could be just writing, music, song, lyrics. And then revival to me is really reigniting and igniting something that you're so passionate about that you want to share with others.
So beautiful. And as you were talking, I was reminded, because you had mentioned, I don't know, we've talked about so many things, but I was thinking about pets, music, and, the beautiful image of my nephew who's 12 playing guitar for my dog on the front lawn, last summer, and so, their pets are a great audience, for whatever they don't. They just listen. And when you say, I'm sure they are affected by music, but I think they're also obviously affected by us. And so anything that's going to uplift us, is going to uplift them. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. I dog sit for this dog quite often. It's a dear family I know, and they have this beautiful golden retriever. And when I start dancing, the dog wants to dance. It's so funny. And then when I play my guitar, he comes and sits right at my feet while I'm playing guitar. They're very drawn to it too.
Yeah, they are. And Tonka does the same thing when I dance. If I put on some music and I'm kind of bouncing, and then he comes in and he's like, what's happening, Mom?
My kids and I always watch a funny video at night. That's one thing we do before we go to bed, is we just laugh. And we always watch funny animal videos and pet videos. And the birds, when the music comes on and you've seen those cockatoos dancing, it is the funniest thing. I could watch those all day long.
That's when you understand the purpose of all those animal videos, because they really are so they have the ability to take us into a place of no drama, just joy and everything.
Yep.
And the thing about animals is they know how to really live,
Oh my gosh. They teach us to be present, right? And
absolutely. Well, this was so much fun, and thank you for getting on with me today. And why don't you share the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, www.RachelleBabler. So it's RACHELLE, Babler, BABLER.com. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, on YouTube. And my email is Rachelle@RachelleBabler.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachelle. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll have to have you back on, get an update sometime
soon. Would love that. Thank you so much, Jan.
You've been listening to Pets, People, Life, and Longevity, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts.